morning, everyone. Welcome to Inspiration Monday. It's my second Inspiration Monday show, and in today's live, I want to talk about dealing with difficult emotions. Hey, I'm Dr. Ellen, the Midlife Whisperer. I help women at midlife find the energy, confidence, and clarity to make their next chapter their best chapter. So, over the weekend, I was in Boston and I was dropping my son off at school, and just it's been a while since I've been in a city, and we were in Harvard Square. I was with my man Ken, and just noticing the stress and the struggle that is going on around us right now, and wanting to come on today and offer you some really concrete ways of dealing with your difficult emotions. Because I was in Harvard Square and just noticing how many people were stressed and suffering, how many things were shut down. It was like a ghost town. And I guess the first thing to realize before I kind of go into this really powerful technique that uses mindfulness to help you deal with your difficult emotions is to realize that right now, everybody is stressed and suffering. I don't know one single person on the planet right now who isn't experiencing a really high level of stress and suffering. There's this element when we're practicing self compassion, which is about treating yourself the way you would a good friend. There is this element in self compassion called common humanity, which is first acknowledging that stress and suffering, difficulties are part of the human condition. So often when things are going wrong, we think it's just me. I'm the only person who's experiencing it. And I think something that's happening right now is that we're all going through so much. There is so much fear, there's so much uncertainty, whatever country you live in. I mean, particularly here in the United States, we're struggling with some real political issues right now, as well as the virus. Most of us have family members who maybe are far away that we can't see. We're worrying about our family. We're worrying about our parents. I think being at midlife, right, we're the sandwich generation, worrying about our parents, we're worrying about our kids, worrying about ourselves, our work. So when you realize that everybody is going through something, you don't feel quite as isolated. So that's the first thing to realize, that this is not that the times that we're going through are normal, but that stress and struggle and suffering is a normal part of life. Because when you think it's just you feel really, really isolated. And it makes it much harder to deal. So just realizing that this is just part of life. So I want to give you a 6-step process that is really powerful, that is proven to help you deal with your emotions. So, think about the emotions you're experiencing right now and your typical reaction. And when I work with people, when I'm coaching women, what I notice is women push it away, right? They say, I shouldn't be having this thought, I shouldn't be having this emotion. And sometimes we get caught in this trap, particularly if you work with the law of attraction, right? You want to keep those high vibes of gratitude and appreciation and joy and positivity and all that great stuff, which is awesome. But we do ourselves a disservice when we ignore the difficult emotions, the anger, the fear, the sadness, the grief, because when you ignore those emotions, they just keep popping up. And when you're pushing them down, that's where you can experience some real difficult things like depression, just feeling like you're so heavy and you don't have any energy. So it's really important that, yes, we need to grab those higher emotions and look for places to feel positive and feel gratitude and feel appreciation. But we also need to hold and soothe those difficult emotions. So the first step is to turn towards your emotion with acceptance. It might sound kind of intuitive. You might feel like, oh my gosh, I've got to push away the sadness. I've got to push away the fear. I've got to push away the uncertainty, the grief, the anger that I'm experiencing right now. But again, when you push those emotions away, they just come back. It's like that game of whack-a-mole, right? You hit the moles and they pop back up. So it's so important first to turn towards your emotions with acceptance. Let me know if you experience this. Have you experienced a lot of difficult emotions right now and you're wondering how to deal with those? Do you tend to like push them away, or do you turn towards them? What's that been like for you? Let me know in the comments box, or just send me some love, because you need some support right now, and I will definitely hold you in my thoughts and prayers and send you a bit of Reiki today. So step number 1, turn towards your emotions with acceptance. Notice what you are feeling. So, is there a tightness? Sometimes we feel these emotions in our bodies. We sometimes feel tightness in our throat, maybe your heart. I had dealt with a client this morning, a lot of gut issues. So I'm a dietitian. So, she was coming to me for nutrition, but we were really working with the problems she was experiencing in her tummy were because of the stress that she was feeling, because there's a connection with the body and the mind. And so often when we are feeling difficult emotions like anxiety, anger, depression, grief, sadness, shame, we feel it in our bodies. So notice what you are feeling, become aware of it, don't ignore it. A lot of times we try to go for these dopamine rises, right? We go for food, alcohol, Netflix. We try to distract ourselves from the emotion. But rather than distracting yourselves, I encourage you this week to feel what you are feeling, to accept the emotion that you are experiencing. So the key here is not to push the emotion away, because it'll bottle up inside and it'll bubble up and explode later. Did you ever have that happen where you're kind of feeling some anger and you're pushing it away, and then all of a sudden you like snap at your spouse or your kid or a coworker and you think, oh my gosh, why did that happen? What we're trying to do here is wake up to what is going on before we explode. So you're just accepting what is. You're accepting the emotion that you're experiencing right now. And so the second step is to identify and label the emotion. So rather than saying, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm depressed, what you're doing is you are saying, this is anger. This is anxiety. This is sadness. And what you do with that is when you say this is, and you become the observer, kind of get up above it and you're observing it, you detach from it. So when you label it, you're doing two things. You are taking it from this sort of reactionary part of your brain, the amygdala, your default mode network that runs down the middle of your brain. Your amygdala is back here. It's that primitive reptilian brain that really, reptiles don't, they don't love. They don't have these bigger emotions. They don't have ways of understanding what they're going through. They just know, like, okay, do I run from this, or do I fight this? What do I do when I'm experiencing this to protect myself? So we have that reptilian part of our brain, but what we need to do is when you label the emotion, you say, this is anger, this is fear, this is sadness, this is uncertainty. What you do is you take it from that amygdala, that primitive part of your brain, and you bring it to the frontal cortex where you can deal with it more productively. So the second step is to label it and detach by saying, this is anger, this is sadness, this is fear, this is grief, rather than saying, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm fearful, or not even labeling it, just going, allowing that emotion to be the driver. You can put yourself in the driver's seat. The only things we really have control over, we have control over our thoughts, our habits, and our visualization. So you can get into the habit of feeling your emotion, labeling it, noticing it, and trying to detach. The third step is to really accept it. So rather than saying, oh my gosh, I wish I wasn't feeling this way, I shouldn't be feeling this way, denying it, you acknowledge it and accept it, that the emotion is present. Your emotions really are your GPS device. Your emotions, the positive ones, help you determine, okay, I'm going to move more in the direction of that positive emotion, that thing that's making me feel good, and move away from the thing that's making me feel sad, making me feel, grief and anger. You really want to accept all of your emotions, and then you can deal with them in a more productive way. You start to realize that your anger, your fear, your grief, or your difficult emotions are the way that you're feeling. You're accepting those things. They're just accepting what is, rather than pushing them away, because when you push them away, what ends up happening is then you look for, you might get into a habit of something. Again, overeating. This is something I see all the time. Any emotional eaters out there, let me know if this sounds familiar, right? You feel a difficult emotion and you're like, oh my God, I've got to have some chocolate. Or I've got to, have something crunchy. I've got to sort of stuff that emotion. And what I am empowering you to do here is to accept the emotion, to feel the emotion, to experience and say, you know what? It's okay. I'm human. This is part of being human, is feeling things and not pushing them away. That's a way that you can really be kind towards yourself, right? Just like if you have a child and your child comes to you and says, I'm feeling really sad, Mom. You don't say to your kid, stop feeling sad, have a cookie. You give your kid a hug, right? And that's what you want to do with yourself. You want to accept your emotions. And then the next thing is that you realize the impermanence of your emotions. So emotions come and go. So I like to think about emotion as emotion, energy in motion. Emotions are a type of energy. We are energetic beings. And so emotions come and go. When you accept your emotions, you give yourself permission to feel, then your emotion will come and go. It's like a wave. And this is all about becoming mindful of what you're feeling, what you're experiencing. So you can really embrace this process by asking yourself questions like, what and where is this feeling? So again, where am I feeling it in my body? Then asking yourself, what do I need right now? And that's where the self compassion piece comes in, is rather than pushing the emotion away, you think about what would make me feel better. Would it feel good to go outside and get a breath of fresh air, to make myself a cup of tea, to call a friend, to watch a silly cat video? What do I need right now to feel better? And how can I nurture and love myself through this? How can I say, oh my gosh, Ellen, this is so hard right now. I know like I was saying, I was in Harvard Square yesterday, and it was like a ghost town. It was really hard to take in everything that's going on in our world right now with those we love. Just seeing what's happening in our society can be really hard to take it in, and just nurturing yourself, being there for yourself, being your own best friend. So asking, what can I do to soothe myself, to comfort myself? And part of that is, really changing your perspective, not being so hard on yourself, not being judgmental, but being kind and understanding with yourself the way you would a good friend. Step 5 is to inquire and investigate. So once you're able to acknowledge your emotion, accept your emotion, feel your emotion, you get into this place of inquiry and investigation where you're asking yourself, after you've calmed yourself down, so you've got to get out of this fight and flight place, which I know is hard right now. It can feel like we're in, I like to think of it as a cortisol shitstorm. So cortisol is the hormone of fight and flight, and it can feel like our cortisol levels are so high, and we just want to stuff those feelings by, again, reaching for food, reaching for alcohol, trying to like drown those feelings to feel better. But after you've soothed yourself in a way that is productive, the next step is asking, what triggered me? So see, was it some media that I saw? Was it a conversation I had with someone? To really understand what triggered you and how you can really work more productively for those triggers, or avoid them to some extent. So if it's media, maybe you're not going to be watching the media, 24/7, turning off the news a little bit, giving yourself a break, asking yourself, what is causing me to feel this way? There's a lot of anger right now, and there's also a lot of things happening astrologically, which are uh, raising this level of anger, this level that I want to be in control, that I need an outlet for these really intense, kind of stressful feelings. We're reaching for a lot of anger because anger is actually a higher vibration than things like grief and sorrow and sadness. So there's a lot of anger right now, and it can get really pent up because there aren't great outlets for it. So we have to find outlets for our anger. So investigating, like, okay, what caused me to feel angry? What caused me to feel sad? And really looking at what the trigger is and noticing, what is the discomfort I'm experiencing? Where is it arising? So that's that mindfulness piece of experiencing what you're experiencing, why you're experiencing it, and then turning towards yourself with compassion just because you're suffering. And then asking yourself, what is it that I need to do to feel better? So if you're feeling this anger, and I know for me, anger is sort of this feeling of like I've just had a pot full of coffee and my cortisol levels are really high. A lot of times, exercise is a great outlet for that. Journaling can be really, really good. It can be good to talk it over. Sometimes you just need to scream into a pillow or punch something or get this anger out in a productive way that helps you to feel better. Sometimes I also find doing yoga can be good, really getting into my body, doing some asanas and allowing, again, this energy in motion to allow the emotions to ebb and flow the way, the tide does, coming in and letting them out and finding more productive ways to deal with your difficult emotions. So, and the final step is letting go of the need to control your emotions. So often we're trying so hard. I shouldn't be feeling angry. I shouldn't be feeling sad. I don't want to feel this way. I'm trying to control our emotions, but it absolutely doesn't work. So let me know if you experience this. Where are you at with your emotions right now? Write something in the comments box, or if this is resonating with you, just send me some hearts. I would love to know if this idea of accepting your emotions, identifying and labeling them, realizing that emotions are impermanent, they come and they go like waves on the ocean or clouds in the sky. Doing some inquiry and investigating to help you to understand what triggered me, why am I feeling this way, so that you can move on, and then really asking yourself, what do I need to feel better? And then letting go of the need to control your emotions, because emotions, again, it's just energy. It's kind of like we're trying to, you know, stick our, trying to stop these waves. I think about water and trying to like stick our finger, like into a dam that has a big leak. When we allow the emotions to be felt with acceptance and mindfully being there for ourselves, then they come and go. And the really beautiful thing is that when you experience all of your emotions, when you accept yourself exactly as you are and you turn to yourself with compassion, what happens is you find you might be surprised by joy. You might go outside and see something beautiful, or maybe you can help a coworker or a friend who's struggling because you've understood this process. This morning I was having a coaching session with a woman who's really struggling at work, and what really helped her realize what she needed to feel better was to understand that how good she has it, appreciate feeling her emotions, appreciating and being grateful for everything that she has, and then helping other people, to be more of a coach with people at her place of work and really being able to support them and to help them. So again, accepting your emotions, identifying and labeling your emotions. Um, don't deny your emotions, turning towards them instead, knowing that they're impermanent, so that they're come and go, and they're really part of your GPS device to understand what direction you want to move into and what directions you want to move away from. Investigating, why am I feeling this way? What triggered me? And what do I need to feel better? And then just letting go of the need to control your emotions. We don't need to control our emotions, but we can control our response to our emotions and not get to this place where we're so angry that we just want to like punch somebody, or get into a fight as an outlet, or we just want to sink into depression and sadness. Letting go of the need to control and instead turning towards ourselves with compassion. So I hope this has been helpful. If you're struggling with this, let me know. If you would like to get some help, just put in the comments box, Dr. Ellen, please, I need some help dealing with my difficult emotions, particularly if you're finding yourself engaging in habits that aren't serving you. Again, if you're reaching for food or alcohol or shopping, any kind of sort of addictive behaviors that are undermining your health and well-being, I would love to help you figure out how you can be kinder and more compassionate towards yourself, and how you can feel better so that you really can move forward in a more positive, productive way. Because the world needs your light and love right now. Let's face it, there is a ton of difficulty in the world, and each of us can be part of the solution that's needed for the planet to move forward in a positive way. So I hope this has helped you today. I'm Dr. Ellen, the Midlife Whisperer. Remember, you are important. Take care of yourself. Have a beautiful day.